Hello, Bridget. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, all good. No, it's fab to have you back again. So Bridget was on my podcast recently as a guest talking about body acceptance, body positivity. And yeah, I just love sort of just that natural connection that you have, and just sort of just a great person to just check in with, see how you're doing in lockdown, and especially with Bridget is pregnant, and just to see how sort of pregnancy is treating you and how it is in well-being. So yeah, I'll just hand it across to you.
Yeah, I think, it's been like, lockdown is a bit like, it's weird times for everybody, even if I wasn't pregnant, it's still like, I reached a point where I'm starting to go a bit nuts because the only person I see is my husband. like, like even though I love him and stuff, but, sometimes it just drives you nuts. You just want space to yourself. But it's a bit strange, like the whole confined things. You can't even pop out for a coffee or de-stress or something, or go and see a friend, or like, still like maintain friendships like phone calls and all the rest of it. It's not the same as a physical connection, I think, with people. So it's just trying to keep the mind active, trying to do some things for myself. Like every morning I'll probably try and do at least 3 things, and that's what I've mentioned before, like try and do 3. It doesn't always have to be the same exact routine, but like today I did 2 meditations and I did like a Pilates thing and I made some breakfast, things like that. But it's more like tuning into what you need for the day and like listening to your body and what it needs and what it wants. And if you want to go and do a walk or do some type of exercise, just listen to what works for you. You don't push yourself too much, because that's the other thing learned through being pregnant, and that as well, is the art of slowing down, the art of like tuning into what you actually want to do. And like I'm always super busy, always have a million things on the go. I'm always thinking of the next idea to make something. But now I think the more you slow down, the more time you actually get back for yourself. So if you set yourself up for the day and take even 20 minutes, half an hour, I probably take a maximum of an hour. That's between like waking up and slowly and doing things in a sort of easier manner, not like you have to be working 9 to get the tube, to do this, like all these things you usually have to do when you're working in an office somewhere. But now you can kind of take it a bit more easier and take a bit more time to reflect on what actually you like doing, you like enjoying. And when lockdown is over, just trying to maintain those little habits that you've probably come across during this time.
Yeah, so you, I suppose all those things you're almost like set yourself up to stay sane. Would you say you're putting those things in place?
Yeah, I think like mental health is like really important, and I'm quite a social person, and I'm Irish as well, so we talk a lot, and like always know loads of people and always have something to go to, whatever it is. But it's just like the forced enclosure bit. But I think without people like yourself online, other friends online, I think we'd probably be lost, because if this happened like 100 years ago, we wouldn't have internet. We don't have these things to keep ourselves occupied.
Can you imagine?
It's like a little bit like of, I suppose, thinking back to like making things a bit simpler, like going back and trying to make things a bit easier for ourselves and simplify our routines and cut out what doesn't work for you anymore. So, no like running to like Pret or whatever it is and grabbing a coffee and a croissant or whatever it is, something sugary in the morning when you're getting the train to work. So now, like, I take time, probably at least 2 or 3 mornings a week, to try and actually make a cooked breakfast. So it's art of like doing something for yourself, because as women, we're always like doing stuff for other people, and we have partners and kids and parents and all the rest to look after. But I think it's taking even 20 minutes to make just a cooked breakfast just for yourself is different, because I usually on the weekends I'll make a full brunch with all the sides and all the rest of it. But if it's in the morning, you're like, I'm making avocado and eggs for myself. Like, okay. But, it's just getting over that mindset thing, I think, of just thinking that you're allowed to do things for yourself, that you don't have to feel guilty taking that time out for yourself. And you can do it like when your kids are napping, or get them distracted in another room doing something, keep them active. But, just it's important to make that time for ourselves. When you don't make it, like nobody else is going to make it for us. Nobody else will thank you at the end of the day for doing these extra things. People just expect you to do the stuff anyway. But yeah. I think it's just changing your mindset and realize like you do matter, and you have to start with yourself first before you can start helping other people in your family, I think.
Yeah, I love that you've already got that nailed as such, because obviously this is your first time mum. Yeah, so it's about to, obviously your whole world is about to change, and that's going to test that more than ever, where you are giving yourself to somebody else. But is that, I suppose, lockdown probably good timing in that sense, isn't it, that you can tune in with what you really, really need before to prepare you for the little one arriving?
Yeah, I guess it's a bit, and part of me is probably a little bit worried I won't be able to maintain that like time for myself and do meditations and do walks and things, but I'll probably just have to involve the baby into it. Like I'm going to get one of those baby cars and just strap them to my chest and go and just do the stuff that I have to do, because they'll be tiny, they won't know what's going on anyway. But I think, yeah, part of it is like it's being used more for a reflection time and like looking up stuff. And I haven't looked up a whole pile of stuff, but just keeping up to date with apps and development wise and things like that. I'm trying not to read anything that'll like put me off experiences and things. I just try and learn it on my own, because people have been doing it thousands of years anyway. That's what I said to them, it can't be that hard. Like, I know it's hard, but like, you know, it's a natural process, and then just kind of the body just kind of takes over and does what it needs to do. But mentally, I think it's like that's the main part, is like trying to prepare myself mentally and dealing with being cut off from people and not having the really support network, not having, like, my mum can't even come over at the moment, you know, like there's things like that. It's like really hard. So like she hasn't really seen me being fully pregnant now, because I'm almost 8 months now, so I'm kind of big now. So if you only see me in the beginning, and there wasn't really much there, but now it's like very obvious. And like my cousins are pregnant. Yeah, they're like, oh, like asking me how I am and things. But it's like, if the lockdown wasn't on, I'd be able to fly home and see family and stuff and keep in touch and things like that. But it's just, I suppose, reinforcing what's important at the moment, I think.
Yeah, how are you feeling? Because I suppose I'd lost track of where you were up to. So 8 months, wow, so it's not long to go.
Yeah, nearly,
How are you feeling?
31 weeks today, yeah. So I've been pretty good most of the time. It's just like bouts of tiredness and naps, random naps that happen. Like I try to battle through them, and I'll still fall asleep on the couch if I don't go to bed. Like,
yeah.
Just some like little bits of aches and pains, but generally I've been quite good. It's just having to slow down and the breathlessness a little bit and things like that. But generally, like, I haven't really had any problems the whole way through. So the doctors and stuff saying I'm doing fantastic and stuff. So, you know, report on what I'm eating and stuff. So it probably is being a bit more mindful of what I'm eating and trying to make that time to like sit down, eat breakfast, and not be on the computer and have the TV going and all these things going on, and making to-do lists and thinking all the things I should be doing. But you're just trying to be a bit more mindful of what I'm doing, and just probably trying to enjoy the time, I suppose. That's what my cousin said to me last night. You should enjoy this time. And I was like, not really, just want it done. You know, I could just feel like bigger and things, but you know.
Yeah, it's so hard, isn't it? And I think that's even linked to lockdown. Been chatting to a few women about it, about this pressure in a way, not pressure, but it's almost like you should be enjoying this time. And that's aside from pregnancy, but it's a similar sort of thing, is it, where people say, oh, you want to, and you almost start to feel a bit like, oh, well, why don't I, as such?
Yeah, there's all this added pressure of like, you know, you should be super productive, like learn a course, lose weight, do this, do that. But like half the time just like chill out and watch TV, or like do like majority of people, like if anyone's in IT or other remote jobs, you can work from home. So I have my day job that I can work from home, so it's quite flexible. But you know, like people have been forced to like stay home and can't go to their work because it's like like they're not allowed to go into work. They're starting to go crazy because they have nothing to fill their days with. Like at least you can do like a little bit of work, a walk, coffee, like whatever it is, like trying to get like a semblance of a routine going. But all this pressure, like at the moment, and social media is like, oh, lose 10 pounds, do this, do that, do this course, pick up this new skill while you're in lockdown. But no one's like saying you are allowed to just enjoy the time. And if you do nothing, that's still productive, because the rest of the year you're probably going to be really stressed because you'll be back to work in July, whatever it is, and then Christmas will come, and then it'll be a new year, and then like we're like, oh, we wish we had that time back. But I think it's important that we just take a few weeks off, just to chill out and do nothing, rather than thinking we have to be doing something every minute of the day.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because even that saying that if you want to do nothing, and I think we're all forgetting that we're actually all just surviving a pandemic. So actually that's pretty major in itself, isn't it?
Yeah, we're even getting through that. So yeah, that's pretty major, because I haven't really known anyone directly affected by it, but now like you see the figures and stuff and you try not to watch the news, but you know, like trying to stay touch wood to stay safe. And if you have to go out, to like put on your gloves and wash your hands when you come home straight away, and try to social distance. But even was in a queue yesterday, I had to pop out to get something, and somebody was standing really close to me, and I kept looking back at them to like try and get them to stand back further. But everyone's kind of like gone pretty blasé. I think at least in my area they're gone a bit blasé about it. So everyone's like, well, hasn't touched me, I'm fine. But you know, because all these people are asymptomatic, so they could have some symptoms and then pass it on to somebody else. But it's just you're trying to live your life, but you can't like stay wrapped up in cotton wool all the time and not do anything either. So
No, I find, and again, from some of these chats I've had, that we were saying how you almost feel like you're in your bubble, don't you? You feel like a little bit, it's closed out, it's closed off, isn't it? You don't almost forget it's going on until you go outside and see it all happening. And then you're like, oh.
It's strange, like, you know, going down the high street and everyone's got their mask and they have their gloves, and, you know, everyone's like trying to stay, when they're walking along, trying to stay the distance away from people. And then, yeah, everyone is in their own little world kind of thing, like, you know, go on A to B, whatever it is you have to do, or go through the park, and there's tons of people lounging around and bigger groups than they're supposed to be. And like, if there's too many people in the park, then I don't go through it usually now. That's like, it doesn't feel like that feeling. I don't know, it's not like panicky feeling, but it's just like, it doesn't feel good when there's too many people around me. I just want to go when it's quiet, so I'll go first thing in the morning instead if there's nobody around. So I think it's trying to time things to what suits you during the day as well, and like knowing what you're comfortable with and what you're comfortable being exposed to. But there's no thing for certain that we could pick it up going for a walk. Like, we don't know how people are really getting it, like, you know, getting contaminated, and the virus, so it'll spread anyway. But it's just trying to think that majorities are kept safe, so you're trying to stay home as much as possible and not go out and risk it. Even though you're healthy, you don't want to go out and expose somebody else that might not be as healthy as you are. So
yeah, I think you're right though. I think picking up on what you said about a bit of panic and worry, I think, you know, I always said I suffer with anxiety myself, and I think almost the whole world is getting a little taster of that. I think there is such an anxiety around it, understandably, and I think from this, personally, I think mental health will be a big I think it's raising awareness overall, isn't it, of just how people...
I think mental health is the main thing. Like, how do you keep yourself sane? How do you keep yourself going and not thinking stupid thoughts? And like, I have been anxious before, and I had like major anxiety a few years ago. The first time it ever happened, I had a massive panic attack a couple of years ago, and that was weird because I never had one before. So it's just kind of like these things that you can do to kind of control the situation yourself. You can kind of like make sense within your head about, you know, it's not like end of the world, you're not going to die, you're not like, but at the time when you get this like massive anxiety and your heart is going like 1,000,000 miles an hour and your blood's pumping really fast and the fight or flight stuff is taking over and you're afraid to do anything, it's just trying to bring yourself back down to earth and look for the different tools you can use. Like, there's the mindfulness ones, and there's other tools people use as well. So you can do things like 5 things you can taste, 4 things you can see, like different colors, like look for a certain color. Like, these things will kind of take the focus away from what's happening. So it's like switching stuff in your brain, like switching like the good to a positive, like bad to a positive, and trying to reframe things as well. Like, oh, I don't have a job, but you have a house. Like, oh, I don't have this, but like, we always want more. I think we're conditioned by society to want more. Like, you've got a job, but oh, I should be making 10 grand more, or I should have a car, or I should have a house. I'm only renting, but I should have a house by now. And these things that people think, like, no, by 30 you should have this done, by 35 this, 40, like, people try to have a life plan, but that's not the way it works out. So
yeah, the pressure, it's like social pressure that we then take on and put to ourselves. But back to what you said there about mindfulness, you know, might as well, from these talks, I'd like to share a few tips with people as well that are watching and feeling, or maybe are feeling that anxiety and pressure, but you picked up on their mindfulness and gratitude. Yeah, they've been absolute game changers for me, and it sounds like
I think it's really important. Like, the other thing I do is I look for little details and things, especially like my thing is that I do is like look up. So if you're walking along the street and you look up and you see the details on the tops of the houses and different things, like looking for different colors or looking for different flowers. Like, I walk past the same street, I don't know how many times in a lifetime you walk past, but if you open your eyes properly, you can see all these things you haven't noticed. Like, the other day, one of my neighbors has bright yellow roses in the garden. Never seen them before, and I've lived here for over a year. Like, you know, like things like that. When you're in your own little bubble, like you're commuting, like, I go up and down the street every day to get the tube, and you wouldn't notice these things. But now you're probably a bit more relaxed, and you can kind of notice these little things. But it's trying to keep your mind occupied and think of other things and try to appreciate things a little bit more, like looking into nature and seeing the colors and the seasons. And like, nobody judges flowers because they haven't bloomed yet, but everybody like judge a person because they haven't accomplished these different steps. So it's like trying to like make that comparison, I think, with nature and people, like, you know, ebbs and flows, and trying to get more into that kind of zone of being more relaxed and more going with the flow, rather than having to like plan everything to the last detail. But if that doesn't come together, if you're someone that like has to have control over something, then you're going to lose the plot and start panicking, and, you know, you beat yourself up about things. That's the other thing I've learned more past year or so, about more like self-compassion and more kind of self-care. It's a bit more like putting myself first a little bit more and trying to do little things for myself more, and just taking more time to do things that matter to yourself, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, like, so that's put you in great stead for this time that we're in, and especially with your pregnancy. I mean, how are you feeling? Because, like, so you also said, I didn't realise you were so close, but how are you feeling about giving birth potentially in the middle of a lockdown?
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping by the time I'm due that it'll the restrictions will probably be relaxed, because like lots of women have already have given birth, and you know a lot of them had to do it on their own, and like their partner's only allowed in just for the birth and then get sent home, and you know it's very like an emotional high charge time and stuff, and a lot of things going on. But I'm just trying to be optimistic and hoping for the best, and hoping he'll be allowed in for the key moments and things anyway. But we'll see when it comes, and like I try not to think too much into the future about it. So
I think, yeah, it does seem to be kind of, they say we're coming down, we're past the peak, and yeah, I think
yeah.
lockdown restrictions will hopefully. That's all we can do, isn't it? Sort of cling to that hope, I guess. Just look for better
Just trying to be as positive as you can about something, and worst comes to the worst, then you just have to deal with it. You know, if they tell you can't do the birth plan over that you want, then you just have to go with what the doctors advise, and they know best, kind of thing. They're professionals in their area, and you don't question them what their beliefs are about things. So, and they've got lots of experience, and like the hospital I chose is one of the best in the world. So, like they've got tons of maternity cases and stuff as well. So they're all like very well prepared, and they have fetal medicine units, and they have all the best stuff. So like hoping like everything goes to plan, that'll be safe delivery and everything. And then if I have to do it on my own, I have to do it on my own, and I'll just have to get over it. So
you've got a strong mindset. I think you've put yourself in really good stead for it. So yeah, just thank you so much. We'll leave it there, and yeah, just good luck with everything. I can't wait to sort of hear the news, and yeah, for like I say, for restrictions generally to be restricted, fingers crossed for you.
Thank you very much.
But yeah, just take care. Thank you so much for chatting to us today. You've shared some really nice tips there as well for people that, like say, are in that situation where they probably worrying a little bit. Yeah, thank you so much.
I think like worrying doesn't really help you at the time. You could spend like days and days worrying about stuff or procrastinating about stuff, but you just get on and just chip away at it, you'll be fine. So I think it's just trying to flip like negative into positive, and try to be thinking of what you actually do have, and trying to think more along those gratitude, grateful stuff. So the more like you practice thinking good thoughts, then like good things will happen for you. So
yeah, definitely 100%. Thank you. I will leave you there, and we'll catch up hopefully very soon. But yes, thanks so much for chatting, Bridget.
all right, take care. See you soon.